Recording. You're right with you guys. Just get a few things ready. All right, 10 o'clock, let's get started. Let's see, actually, a quick look at archive. Anyone from the online class here? Go ahead and you can speak up or type in the chat. Okay. Okay, I got 61% right now. Just going to go through those who are absent. Abby, I'll make sure I get you real quick because I know you're here. Let's see. Okay, Chad Ackley absent. Colby Baum absent. Jesse Cameron absent. Isaac Dobbins absent. Ian Erickson absent. Morgan Martin absent. Paul Pena absent. Gordon Reed absent. Danes Wallace absent. Zach Walters absent. And Nicholas Whites. You can throw it in the chat or you can speak up if you're here. Paul, okay, thank you. I'll get you real quick. Anyone else? Morgan, all right. Gotcha. All right, let's see that. All right, so today, looking at our calendar, you should be done with chapter 5. How we largely done with chapter 5? Let's actually have a quick look at our class. 1 second. Andy's iBooks report will let us know how we're doing. Does anybody have any topics that they want to review specifically from chapter 5? Look at those right there, and it's just, I'm going to go over several things, but if there's something specific that you were confused with or you'd like to go over.
If you could go over like the positioning elements of 5.3,
I will.
that'd be awesome.
Okay, I was planning on going over positioning today. All right. 353. It's like half the class is done with the chapter. That's not good. All right. So today we're going to walk through the first lab, as promised, and then we're going to cover several topics, including positioning. We're going to start talking about layout in general. You'll be doing some additional reading, watching video for the next class on Flexbox and Grid, largely Grid, CSS Grid, and then we'll have a little exercise, little game, which is kind of fun to do next class. All right. Any other questions on the chapter or any topics? All right. Then let's, before I forget, I'll walk through the lab real quick. Okay, let's go back here. And let's go grab the instructions for this. Okay, so you create a web page for the following poem song titled Yesterday. Use CSS to format the page so it looks exactly like the screenshot below. All right. And then there's a long list of requirements here. All right, I'm just going to copy those so I don't have to come back. I'm going to create a HTML comment. You guys all know how to do HTML comments? What's interesting we should talk real quick about this. So for example, if I have a style tag, if I want to make a comment in a style tag, I use sort of this syntax. All right. So we have different comments, styles in all the different ones. And then so if I have a script tag, I got some JavaScript in there, I can use this sort of thing. I can, oops, go back. I can also use the double forward slash for a single line. Okay. But inside HTML, you need to use this left bracket, exclamation dash dash as the beginning. Then you get as many lines as you want. Okay. All right. I should put the body right here. Take off requirements. So we're going to use an embedded style sheet for inline styles. So I've already got my embedded style sheet ready to go right here. Okay. I prefer not to use inline styles by default. So use a div for each of the 4 verse containers and the outer container. Okay. So need to do a div. And then I want a div for each, each of the 4 verse containers. Okay. Shouldn't be any questions there. Parent div for the whole thing, and then 4 for each of these. Title Yesterday uses a H2 tag with a 16-point Arial font that is blue and italicized. Okay, do not use an I tag. So what is the alternate for the I tag, folks? I'm going to use my archive to randomly pick someone. Christian Hansen, what's the alternate CSS or HTML tag for I? So not italic, but do you know? You're going to speak up. Anyone know? Speak up.
Yeah, I got it.
Is it EM?
EM? No.
In font family, you can do font style and italic. Or font style. In font style, you can put italic.
Is it site?
Site, thank you. Okay. italicize. Let's see, we're going to do not use an I tag. All right. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to say title yesterday uses an H2 tag. Okay. Okay. So H2 tag, 16-point Arial font. We're just going to go H2. Font, style, Arial. Font size, 16 point. I think I've got that. Oh, see, did they want it? Maybe they wanted us to. Let me have a quick look over it. Did they want us to do? Oh, they're doing all the inline. I don't like the inline. I'm going to do it all outside of that. Oh, yeah, they want us to use CSS for that. Oh, that's right. We were going to do. I'm going to actually see if this works. 16-point Arial, blue font. There's blue and italicized. Okay, color, blue. They want font style. That's what they want. Italic. For that. Better to do it in CSS than try to put a site tag right there. Entire song is embedded in a container that's 600 by 280 pixels. Okay. Has a 2-pixel solid blue border and a 5-pixel padding. Okay. Just want to get them all here so I can do it real quick. Okay, div. Let's see. We want to go ahead and do. Let's see. How do we want to do that? I want to do the first div with a. Oh, they're doing inline styles. That's fine. We don't want to do inline. So, our case.
The Arial that you have earlier is under. You wrote down font style, not font family.
Oh, thank you very much. You guys are great. All right. Okay, and so, yeah, easy to do inline. Since we're not doing it inline, I will just do, I need to give the div some sort of a class or something so I can target it. Okay. Oh, the highlighting is not working because I've got a really bad thing here. The solid blue border. We just use the combined one. So you can use border, you know, bottom, top, color, left, right, width, style, but you can do it all in one. I'm going to do 2px solid blue. That gets me that. A 5-pixel padding. Padding all around. 5px. Background color. Should go ahead and throw the stanzas in there real quick so I got the content. Okay. Just gonna see them here. Okay, I got my stanzas in there. Let's go ahead and run this so we see what it looks like.
Do they need to be put in a p tag, or are they fine?
Let's see what the requirements are. Hang on. Entire song is embedded 10 to 600 by 2.5 pixel bar. Okay, we're done with that. The outer div's first child is H2. That's correct. The 4 child divs follow, declared in the order listed below. All right. The yellow section has a background color of yellow. Okay, floats to the left. So let's do. So a better approach than doing all this inline, of course, is just say class equal yellow, like that. Orange section. Orange red section.
I have a question if I could.
Yeah, go for it.
What would be your opinion of like the benefits of using a class in this instance on the HTML versus using an nth child selector?
Oh, sure. I mean, let's actually we'll look at that. That's a good point. There's 100 ways to select just about anything. I'll quickly look at the instructions here. Oh, there you go. We got a yellow section. We have one that's not colored. Okay, so that's going to give us. So the second one doesn't have color. So the third one, and then is the right. Good question. I'll cover that in a little bit of detail then. So we got yellow section. Section has no. So there's section with no background has no CSS styling. Okay, so the second one doesn't have any CSS styling. Orange and orange red. Okay. And I'm going to do classes right now. And then I'm going to show you how we might use selectors. We had a yellow section, orange section, and orange red's the last one. Do not use BR anywhere in your HTML. That is a good point. All right. All right. Dot yellow. Dot orange. Okay. So the yellow section. Let's just go ahead Actually, you know what? I can split this right. Yeah, you can do that. You can split your document right, and you can look at two different sections at once. So now I'm looking at my instructions and my CSS over here. Background color of yellow. Float left. And let's see, margin right, 10px. All of the margins set to 0. Okay. Top right, bottom left. Okay. That looks like we covered that. Second one doesn't have anything.
Don't you want to change margin right back to margin?
Oh, I do. Thank you, folks. And orange section's got a background color of orange. It's positioned. Let's go talk about positioning real quick. Background color orange. Positioned at 110 pixels, 200 pixels with absolute positioning. Okay. So, position absolute. Do most of you have this? I hope you guys have this lab up, right? You're actually following along, hopefully. I would really like for you guys to, every time, just be in code when you get here. Even if I don't give you code, sometimes I give you code to start with. You have code, they have this starting code. Have a browser open with a blank HTML page or whatever that you can just feel around with. All right, we got position absolute, and then we have positioned at 110, 200 pixels. So that's 110 to right. Okay. So let's see, the left. The X. So again, so left, I'm going 110 pixels from the left. And then how do I go down 200 pixels? Which one do I use?
Is it top?
That's correct. Because you're going from the top, 200 pixels. Okay. We got 10 pixel padding, 10px. Let's just construct the CSS. Then they'll play around a little bit, and we'll talk about other ways that you might approach this. Okay, the orange-red section's got a background color of RGB. Oops. White text, that's color. White. Float right. Width. Padding. All right. Right margin of 40, top margin of 20. All the margins set to 0. PX. 40px, top, right, bottom, left. Okay. That looks okay to me. Go here. No BRs. All right. Generally, I discourage BRs, just sort of in general, unless you really need it. Okay. I use CSS where you can. All right. Let's go ahead and see what this page is looking like. All right, not quite exactly. That's yesterday. I know my day has gone long. That one's not even orange. Okay. I'm going to inspect this. Are you guys getting familiar with the inspector? Hopefully, every assignment you're right here in the debugger. Okay. You need to get familiar with it. So I'm going to go. All right, what's wrong with this guy? Div. It's a third div. Now my data is gone and along free. Oh, I got no class. Wow. Display block. My class orange red's there, but my orange class is not there. Div.orange. Classical yellow. Div class. Oh, I put it in the slash div. There you go. Those are all. Let's see.
In the orange section, you're also missing a width of 200 pixels.
In which section?
Orange.
Orange. Okay. With a width of 200 pixels. Width. 30px. All right, now let's go back and see what it looks like. That's looking about right. So let's go ahead and submit this one. All right, gotta bring up my Xylabs. Drag that over from and submit it. Ten out of 10, first try, yay. Okay, let's go back and talk about some of the things that they implemented here, so we understand some things about like positioning, for example. Let's go back to the first question that was asked. So I've got div.song, div.yellow, div.orange, cancel, orange red. Okay, so that's, and then I put markup in here, classical yellow, classical orange, orange red. So if I want to be, explicit, like generally the first thing I would do is I would use a class. Now, generally I'd use a class if I were going to reuse it. So in this case, I'm probably not reusing it. So the suggestion that was made might be better, but also, I mean, doing a nth child and all this kind of stuff, those selectors are not really straightforward, right? In other words, someone's reading your code, they're going to have to figure it out. With a class, they don't got to figure out anything, right? They know that's a div with a class orange, okay? But alternatively, I can just do comma. I could say div.song, child div. Okay, and then what pseudo selector do I use? The person who was the one who asked that question?
I did it. It's a nth child, so colon.
Nth child. And let's see, for orange, it's the 1, 2, 3, right? I'm going to remove this just for fun's sake. And go back to the lab. something's a little wrong. Let's reload this. Let's see. All right.
You'd probably need nth of type because it's actually the fourth child.
Well, hang on a second. Div. Go in here and just play with that. So if I somehow got confused on my CSS, I'm just going to go, I'm going to select this element. And it is selected. Okay. So the selection did work. What did I do wrong, though? Let's just go back here. I'm going to okay, div orange is background color, position absolute, 110, 2, that looks right. That's correct. Well, it did select, which is interesting. Div song. Oh yeah, and let's just do int of type. Yeah, but it did select. That's working now. Okay. Oh, so it was showing that it was there, but why did it do? All right. So here, let's look at that real quick. Nth of type. Let's go back to our HTML down here. No, the other one should work too. So div.song, so I select the div, and I want to go down. Now I'm going to say nth of type. So if you have multiple of different types, oh, the child thing wasn't working so great because the H2 is a child as well. I selected the wrong one. Okay. So if the nth child were 1, 2, 3, it would have been 4. But if you want to sort of, if I got other tags in here and I want to get the third div, you can say nth of type, and that's going to be 1, 2, third of that type. Okay. Now I know what happened. I got confused there for a second. All right. I can say nth child 4. Okay, and that works. All right. So what's more readable, understandable, this or this? Probably more readable. However, the thing I like about the longer selector, this one here, is that my markup then becomes really generic, and I really like that. I would much rather sort of apply something remotely. But again, if I were gonna do this the same style over and over, a class totally makes sense, right? But if it's very specific, let's go ahead and just do the specific. So we're going to go nth child. Child 5. Selecting it twice doesn't really matter. Okay, I mean in CSS. Okay. Let's go back and look at our page. We're still looking good. We're still looking good. Okay. All right. Float. Someone explain to me a little bit about float. what does float do? Let's go look at one of these floats. This guy, I have a div, and I say float left. Okay. Someone have an understanding of float? They can explain what the heck's going on there. Then I've got to, because normally divs, right? And this second div has no style. Okay. So I float it left. What normally happens with divs? Where should this paragraph be normally? What would a div normally do? Jaden Wilcox, what would a div normally do? Okay. So if I made this element not float, what should happen?
It should just be stacked on top of the other divs.
Correct.
It
There you go.
takes the whole width of the page.
Right. So it's just the div, even though it has a width of 200, it still takes up the whole page. It's going to push everything else down below it. Okay. Also, we'll often float an image left so that the text wraps around it. Okay. Let me. Oops. Sorry, go back to my source real quick. I have a bunch of text. I'm going to just add some more. Okay, because you see by default here, I've got my text. If there's too much text, it wraps around. So a float left with an image, for example, we'll put the image here, and then the text will float around. That's a standard usage for that. You'll find that some people use floats. Well, we used to use floats for like overall layout of our page. I'm going to go over that. But your best usage for floats, I suggest anyways, you're going to float and the text is going to wrap around. What happens if I say float right? Not yellow. Okay. Oh. Right. I float my text, in this case this div or an image, and the text is going to wrap around it the other way. Okay. So that's sort of your standard usage for floats. All right, let's look at the positioning real quick. Let's look at this guy. So position absolute. All right, what I want to do, I actually want to make a, let's go back here. I want to make a page that scrolls, okay? So the absolute position one right here, it gets positioned absolutely at that, let's select it again. At left 110, at top 200 pixels, okay? It's going to stay there even though I scroll it off the page. All right. Let me show you a fun one. Oh, sticky. No, maybe. Wait, I'll give you a better example of that. Hang on a second. In a minute. Didn't do what I thought it would do, so I'm going to just go back right now. So we're going to absolute. Now.
Are you going to try static too?
Yeah. So, I mean, what is the static layout? It's sort of the easy one. What is position static?
It makes it static to the viewport, so like position to the viewport. So whatever the position is, whenever you scroll, it'll still stay in that spot, like relative to your screen and not to the web page.
Right. It's going to be right where it was rendered. In other words, the static position is the position at which the browser rendered it. Okay, so in this case, if I'm in static position, so that's the default. You don't even usually have to. You don't usually specify it. Okay, but note also that left and top don't apply because it's not positioned. So it's really not a positioned element. If I say positioned, quote unquote, it's going to be either relative, absolute, fixed, or sticky is another one. Okay, but so static position is the default. It's just where the browser rendered it. Okay. Now, if I say relative, let's go here. Oh, I'm on div.org. I'm on the wrong. I thought I was looking at the yellow one for a second there. So I might have actually. Yeah, let's go. Now let's go. The orange. The orange is 110. So right now it's relative 110, 200. So relative to what? I'm gonna pick a random student. Danes Wallace, do you know? This box, right, is relative to what? To what position? Anyone know? Does anyone know?
Its default position.
Okay, its default position, which is a static position, right? So wherever it would have been rendered, so wherever its static position was rendered, here, let's just do this. Static, okay? It's getting rendered here right after all this text, so just normal div, okay? If I want to move this div from its currently rendered position, okay, I just say relative, okay, and then it's going to move it 110 pixels to the right and 220 down. Everyone understand that? So relative is positioned relative to your statically rendered position. Okay. Let's see. All right. What if I say fixed? So fixed position is interesting in that it, hear that? So it doesn't scroll. Okay. So relative, of course, it's relative to the static position. Okay. When you position an element like this, fixed, it just stays at that point. That's 110 left, 220 bottom, and it's going to stay that way forever. Okay. Everything else scrolls underneath it. Okay.
Is that how certain developers can like make web pages where just the image looks like it's there and they have stuff scroll over it and kind of get that effect? You know what I'm talking about?
So the background image, right, would be probably what you would put on the background, right? So if I had a background image, then everything scrolls over that. I'm actually going to go over background image here in a second. So thanks for reminding me of that. But so positioning. Now, what other one have we missed? We've done fixed, static, relative,
Absolute.
absolute. He didn't appear to move, did he? Oh, but look. Only the fixed removes you from the scroll. So now I'm scrolling. I'm also fixed in that position. Now, absolute is the one that is a little trick. It has, it's not too super straightforward in the sense that it's got a rule. Okay, does anyone know what the rule with the absolute is that would change it? Let's see. Does anyone know the difference between what absolute? Yeah. Where is absolute relative to? That's the question I want to ask.
To the newest positioned ancestor.
Nearest positioned ancestor. Okay, that is the technical explanation. What that means is, let's go into the source code. So I think we're trying to position this one. Okay, so let's go back up. So ancestor being parent. Okay, div class equals song. Is this one positioned? Let's look at it. No, there's no position. Okay, so when I mean position, okay, when I mean positioned ancestor, okay, it has to be either position relative, fixed, or relative or absolute. Okay. If this div class equals, now this div class equals song is also at the top of the body, the window, so it kind of let's go ahead and put something. Let's go back here because I want to show you the trick with this one. It's a total test question, so you want to just take note. All right. I'm going to add this the top. Okay, so if this div is positioned, okay, this div is going to position as an absolute relative to nearest positioned ancestor. So if this is positioned, it will go nearest to this guy. Otherwise, it defaults to where? Just defaults to the window, top left of the viewport, okay, or the body, okay. So it's an either or. It's either the nearest position ancestor, which in this case would be song if it were positioned. Let's go in here and just do that so you can see how it works. Oh, is this guy still floating? Hang on. I don't want it floating. Okay. Okay, so this is still 220 and 110 from the top of the window viewport. Why? Because this guy is not positioned. But if I say div class equals song, and I just say something simple like this, position colon relative, and note, you're in the CSS tab. You can just add stuff, you can remove stuff, you can turn it on and off. Okay. But now look, it's actually now it's 110 from the top of this div, and or 220 and then 110 from the left. Okay. So it's relative to its nearest positioned ancestor, which is class song. Is that really clear? Is that clear? Hopefully everyone's got that. Okay. All righty. Let's see here. We didn't do. I want to do a good example of sticky. I didn't seem. Let's see. This one here. Okay, it's not working. I need to get a good example of it. Hang on a second. For sticky. Okay. When in doubt, just find an example. Position. Even I don't know everything. Okay, sticky. Where's the sticky example? Oh crap! Hang on a second here.
Just go under the positioning.
Just under positioning.
Yeah, position. Sticky's under there. You know, CSS position, whatever tab that is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's go back and find it again. We'll get to the right place. CSS position properties, CSS layout. There we go. Sticky header. All right. So in this case, I'm scrolling. Okay. But the header will stick to the top when you reach the scroll position. Okay, so it moves until you hit the scroll position. And so I obviously missed a, where is my, oh yeah, position fixed. Wait a minute, what the heck? Hang on a second.
I think you just need some more text so then it's more visual on your screen.
Oh, so they were adding sticky, remove sticky, my function, page offset by. What the heck are they doing here? That's header offset top.
That's an element viewport detection with JS.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why they're, okay. I thought it was easier than that. What the heck are they doing here? See if we can. Yeah, that's too confusing. We will not get stuck on sticky. I'll show you that next week. All right, let's go. I don't want this time.
I was about to say, actually, if you just, it's like up 3 on the very left. You're currently an inline block, go in position. Scroll down and you'll get to sticky, and that's a good example.
That's a good example. Oh, there we go. Okay, it moves, but then when it hits the scroll, well, it stays visible. Okay, much better. And that's what I was looking for, the CSS with all the JavaScript crap they were doing. So position sticky, top 0, right? Padding 5 pixels. Border 2px solid. Okay. So if I said top 10, I'm guessing it's going to, let's see. Oh. Does it work? Oh. So this guy is sticky, classical sticky, that's it. Just position sticky top 0. Yeah, that's all you need to do. All right, that's cool. Thank you very much. Now let's go back. You wanted to know, oh, background. Actually, were there any other questions with this lab? Positioning. We've got, okay. We went over absolute, relative, fixed. Those are the important ones. Sticky won't be on the test probably, since I don't even know it. And then static positioning, which is the default. Okay. How do you use it on a page? Again, when you position stuff, right? You can, I can put stuff on top of other things. Okay, I can stack stuff. I can do. Actually, let's look at the example web page from the chapter. Main Street Cafe. Let's go and look at that one. You see this little ad that came in. We'll look at animation here in a second. Let's go back here. Let's see, so we got positioning. Wanted to quickly cover animation a little bit, and then we'll cover background. And how times it? It's 5 to 11. This class always goes way too fast. Let me just show you one thing you learned about in this chapter that I'm not going to force you to use. It'll probably be extra credit on your project. Okay. My stall extensions. Oh, I got too many. questions? Let's see. 15 minutes. Gotta decide how I want to go through this. Live SAS compiler. Okay, who knows? So you read about SAS. What is SAS? Okay. For me to enable SAS, I installed this live SAS compiler. You can do that too. Just search for live SAS compiler 3.0 by Ritwick Day.
Yeah, this class is boring.
This class is boring. I heard that. Web development is not boring, I'll tell you that. All right, so live SAS. Let's go look at SAS. Okay, so what SAS is, it's actually, it looks like CSS, but it's like a CSS script language. It adds a whole bunch of capabilities that standard CSS doesn't have. And so this is a main.scss. Notice if I change this file in any way and I save it, look down here. Oh, I'm not watching SAS. If I want to watch SAS, you'll see down here in the console, if I make a change, padding 5px, save it, it should have compiled it. Hang on a second. I'm having so many just weird things happening here. Man. Let's talk about CSS real quick, and I'll figure that out. But so you saw in CSS, remember we had the global variables as well? We had a root element with dash dash, all this kind of stuff. In SCSS, you just declare a variable with a $sign here like this. Okay, accent color, accent front color, BG color. Okay, and then I can just use it inline like this. In CSS, I have to say it's like root and then the element. So it's much simpler. Okay, so I can use global variables. The other thing that's cool about SCSS, let's see, is you can embed styles. Okay, so if H1 is a child of the header, I can just put the H1 CSS right inside this header tag. Okay, and specify my CSS. And then when that actually gets, so let's go back here. When it gets compiled, so what happens is this gets compiled into the main CSS file if the watcher is working the way it's supposed to. And then that gets loaded on your page. So it's a dynamic thing. So as I'm developing, I'll change my SCSS. It'll automatically compile to my main CSS. So I won't be actually changing my main CSS manually ever. Okay. But header and H1, let's look in the main CSS. I've got a header, which is great. And then header space H1. Okay. It automatically generates these two tags because H1 is specified as a child of header. So you can actually just put it in a descendant relationship. Okay. If I did that, it would be immediate child. Okay. Oh, there we go. Change detected. Let's go back to my main CSS. Now you see I've got the child selector there. Okay. So very handy. If you guys, because I had so many complaints last semester about learning like 5 languages, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, SCSS, I pulled SCSS out the curriculum, but I'll probably make it a extra credit. So you more advanced guys, you should jump right on this, okay, and use it, or anyone can use it. It's actually quite powerful, okay. But it compiles it, so it's a little more effort. But again, let's see if I got another more complex one.
And sorry, what's the name of the extension for SAS?
The extensions, live. It's live SAS compiler.
Live chat. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Right there by Ritwick Day. Go ahead and install that. Okay, and then you basically say watch, and it'll watch your current directory for any SAS changes. Okay. Now this map file, just so you, this map file here. Sorry, I want to go on that now. I won't cover that right now. I don't have time. All right. I wanted to cover real quick animation. People get a little bit confused with animation. Let's go look at back to the page. And when you reload the page, or I hover over it, I've got an animation. When I load the page, this waits a couple of seconds, then it slides down. Okay, so we have a couple animations to do with this guy. I got some questions here. Let's see. So we give it a name, lower add. How long is it going to last? 1 second. How long is it going to delay? So it waits 2 seconds before starting. Okay. Position fixed. So it's going to be in a fixed position, 30 and minus 80. So what we're saying is let's put it, we're going to default position it fixed off the screen. Minus 80 means way off the viewport. So it's not even visible. Width is 100 pixels. Background is a linear gradient. Okay, light, green, white. Box shadow, 5 pixels. Some of my favorite things, adding the shadow here, 5 pixel shadow. Border radius is another one of my favorite things. It's one of the easiest things to sort of make something look nice. Transition, let's see, 200 milliseconds, easy and out. So these are default transitions that you can do, and it's just how it moves. And you can look at how on the detail on that. Advertisement hover. So when I hover over it, I'm just going to transform scale. Okay, 1.2. Okay, that's horizontal and vertical. So I'm just going to make it 20% bigger when I mouse over it. Okay, 20% bigger. Okay. Again, waits 2 seconds. Minus 80, and then drops down. Let's look at the animation on that. Animation name is lower add. Let's go find lower add. Okay. To define my animation, I do at keyframes, give it a name, lower add. That's what's referred to up there. From top minus 80. So I'm going to take that div and I move it from minus 80 to top 40, to 40 pixels below the top. Okay. Any questions? All right. Let's go. That's animation. That's a little bit about SCSS. I recommend anyone who wants to sort of push themselves a little more in this class, just start using SCSS and learn about it and take advantage of it. Let's go back. All right, we got 15 minutes. Let's see, you want to cover that? Oh, let's cover that. It's a shame. Again, just a quick intro to what you're going to be reading this week. I'm just going to use, so there's a CSS grid playlist. Code, it's a bunch of code. So if you look at your next assignment here, let's go to, oh, easier to get it from here. CSS grid tutorial and quiz. Okay. So watch the following video tutorials. Okay, so it's some videos which will really help you to understand kind of what's going on. Let's see, we got the videos, and then we've got, where's the download of the code? Hang on a second. Did I not give you the code? Oh. Change that. Let's see. In files, you should have the code. If it's not, I'll add it. Oh, wow. Okay, I'll add that zip. What you're going to learn about, and I think this, you can download the code from the actual YouTube site as well. Yes, any other questions? Here? Okay. So real quick, let's look at just layout in general. I'm going to open this floats. And so you learned a little bit about floats. Okay, what a float does, right, to a div is it kind of detaches it from its static position, all right? Floats it over to the left. Now, we used to use floats a lot to do all of our layout. So let's have, I'll show you this right here. So this is kind of a standard layout. So this week we're going to talk about layout, Flexbox, and CSS grid. You know, floats, Flexbox, CSS grid. Okay, the difference between the three ways to lay out. So here I've got a header, a side, nav, main, footer. Most of your applications will have a similar sort of layout, right? My nav might be up at the top, might be over here on the left. I might have an aside on the right. Okay, but I'm gonna have main content. Then I'm gonna have, you know, a couple areas here on the left. I'm gonna have my footer. Okay, so let's look at how you would lay that out in floats. Let's go down here. And you can see here that my content, I got a div ID equal content, which is my outside div. I've got my header. I have div ID equal middle. So I'm creating a hierarchy here. I got my main section. I got a sidebar. So these two are siblings. Okay. Within the sidebar, I also have a side and a nav. Okay. Then I got a footer on its own here. So I've got sort of a hierarchy in the middle. Okay. It's going to have my main and my sidebar with the two on the left. Okay. Let's inspect this real quick. Let's look at. Right. So the header by default is going to be full width. Okay. I didn't give it a width, so it's going to just spread across the whole page and push everything else underneath it. Okay. Middle, same thing. It's not floating. It's just a div that's pushed down underneath the header display block. Okay. But within the middle div, I've created a main section. Okay. And it's float right. So I want this to float to the right. And I set the width to 60%. Okay. If I turn it off, it's just the width of the content, which doesn't have really any content at the moment except for that one little title. If I say width 60%, it's 60% of the page. Okay. Background color, I got it a height of 400. So it's actually going to, the height of 400 is going to push the footer down 400 pixels. So that's sort of determining the height of my layout. Okay. Anybody has any questions, feel free just to pipe up. Okay, now my sidebar, it's floating left with a width of 40%. So obviously the two make up 100%, 40, 60. Okay. Within that sidebar, I have an aside and a nav. Okay, in this case, the aside is going to take up all the width. We're not floating it. It's just a regular div that's 200 pixels high. Let's see. And its width is determined by its parent, which is just 40% of the page, which is the parent div. Okay, in the nav. All right, and then the footer, of course, is really same thing as the header. It just goes across the whole page and fills it up. Can someone who's a web developer explain to me this CSS code real quick? Is anyone familiar with with clearing floats? Okay, if not, this is a so after, of course, you learned about, right? I can stick content after. I can also apply these two attributes, okay, at the end or after this middle. What this does is it says display block, okay, because up until now you were display. So as actually, let's go back here. What happens when you float these two elements? They get detached from the DOM, and if you don't stop the floats, stop things floating, things that come after that middle div will also get affected and screwed up, and you'll like what the heck's going on? Okay, so whenever you float a div, you need, after that div you need to clear the float. Okay, and this is just sort of a standard way of doing that. Okay, display block, clear float on both left and right. Okay. We're not going to be using floats a lot for layout, so I mean, you just need to sort of know about this. You're going to maybe see it, come across it. From here on out, you're going to use floats more just for images and things like that, wrapping text around. For layout, we're going to start using Flexbox and CSS Grid for overall layout. Okay, Flexbox we will use within containers. That's sort of my preferred way to use it. As you read about it and as you study it this week, you'll see. But like, this is quite a bit of markup and hierarchical structure here. Okay, let me just show you what comes with when we start looking at Flexbox. Okay. Okay. Let's actually run this one. 5 minutes. Okay. Looks same. I push the nav over to the right. Okay. But what we have here is we're not using floats anymore. Cool thing about this is looking at the body here. Let's go look at the actual HTML. I was checking a bunch of crap in there. There we go. All right, well, in this case, we still have kind of the middle, main, sidebar, nav. So we have a bit of a structure here. CSS Grid goes further and removes all that structure, but let's go look at how I did this. Okay, middle is now display flex. Okay, so before I had middle was just a regular div, and the main and the sidebar were float. What you do here is you say display flex. I'm saying the middle container I want to display flex. What this does is it's going to take divs. It's going to automatically wrap them around. Okay? So a flex container will take whatever you throw into it and sort of wrap it around across the row and then around like an inline, okay, or like an inline block, okay. But display flex. The sidebar. Let's see. Order 1 flex grow. Go on. We'll talk more about the details on that. Flex grow, this is just the rate at which it grows. So this main is going to grow twice as fast as the sidebar when you're actually, let's see. Actually, what this is saying, this is main is twice as big, okay, as the aside, okay. So I did in the other one we did 60%, 40%, okay. Here we're just doing the main is twice as big, okay, as this guy. Order 0. What that does is it'll actually put that as the first div, even if it's not the first div in the HTML. I'm probably going over your heads right now. But let's see. Let's go here. Main. It's already set as 0. That's fine. Go back there. I want to just go through the high level. I'm going to go through in huge detail on Thursday. But what Flexbox does, again, instead of having floats and dealing with clearing floats and all that, you create a container, then you just stuff these divs in. They automatically sort of arrange themselves. They wrap around. So let's go. Let's grow height. Right after. And then just the last. So this is just lesson one. This is sort of just the high level. CSS grid is different, even different. So let's go down here and say, look at CSS grid. Look at how I have no hierarchy. Okay. Well, how am I going to create my hierarchy? How am I going to create my parent structure? Okay. So I have my one main container. Then I've got these five divs. Okay. Let's go back to the code here. Let's go up here. And you can see what I've got here. I've got pound content, which is the main container, display grid. Okay. Grid template columns. I want two columns. One is one fraction of the space. The other is two fractions. So it's getting back to that same thing in Flex. Grid auto rows, min max 150. So what that says is the row size is going to be 150 pixels high as a minimum. Okay. Otherwise, it'll be the size of the content. Max width is 960 pixels, margin 0 auto. This is one of my favorite tags here. You should learn it, margin 0 auto. Who knows what that does? Time's up, but who knows what that does? 0 auto. Anyone know?
It centers
Basically,
the container.
Right. So no matter how big my window is, it always stays in the middle. So I've created a 960 pixel wide main area. And this is sort of a standard in the industry for fixed size websites. They used to be all sort of 960 pixels because that was the ideal for laptops, desktops, everything else. But it'll keep it centered. Great way to center a div, in a parent, that sort of thing. And the last thing I'm going to say here is we've got. So here, this right here, basically determined the entire layout. Let's see. Well, the header has grid. Oh, the header itself has grid columns span 3. Okay. Header's going to go across the 1, 2, 3. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. So let's see. We actually have 1, 2, 3 columns. Just so you, let's see. We'll go back over this. I'll go over this on Wednesday. This allows you to basically take your website and lay it out on a grid. And so I could take any of these sections basically, and I can put them anywhere I want on a grid structure. And it's a grid structure of any size. And you can embed grids within grids. So I can have a grid layout, and then I can put a grid layout inside my main. All right, folks, I have probably saturated your heads today. Make sure you don't just watch and yawn at the CSS grid videos, and I'll upload the code for you and make that available. Let's see. And any last questions? I'm going to stop recording. I'll stay online for a minute if anyone has any questions right now. I have office hours till 1. Stop. Recording. Do we have any people from the online section here today?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. I invited everybody. All right. And are you able? So who was that? Was that Benjamin?
Peter.
So Benjamin said I'm from online, and Peter's from online. Okay. Are you guys able to join okay and see everything okay? Is your experience?
I don't have access to the chat, but
Okay.
other than that, it's fine.
Okay. I'm going to see if I can resolve that issue. Technically, I'm not really supposed to invite you, so don't get me sued. But yeah, crazy rules. All right. Cool. Raphael, yeah, I can meet with you afterwards. So let's go.